Hey Rick, how's it going? Hello, hello.
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good. Been like knee deep in Obvio stuff in the last 2 days. So coming with a lot of questions. So I love find these calls so helpful.
Yes, I agree. I'm filling out my template for them to build it, and I'm thinking less is more.
I
So
mean
as
it's
they build it, I want to be able to get in there and go, well, maybe that background I didn't need.
it's
You know,
it's
again,
it's
less is
really a
more.
phenomenal platform once you figure it. I actually use it every day. I've gone completely away from Zoom calls and I just have a very casual drop-in cafe. It's just called Magnum.cafe, right? So instead of, all the Zoom things that, people can just drop in. And so I've really gotten the hang of Obvio in a big way, and I really love it. I mean, once you figure out the kind of weird places where you're going to go and change your settings, and remember it because some of them are weird, right? But it is really a phenomenal platform. I'm really loving it, and
Wow,
you
that's
will
good to
too.
know. I'm mastered ClickFunnels, going in there and building the funnels and pages.
Yeah.
Um, so I should be able to manipulate and change some things with
Yeah.
Obvio now.
Actually, I literally 2 days ago I switched to go high level from ClickFunnels because it used to be a whole bunch of duct tape. I had to duct tape ClickFunnels together with Kajabi, together with Obvio, together with this. So I've gone to go high level on the whole thing, and I am so impressed. I mean, really, a one platform that does everything. So
Really?
the only thing now that I need to do is connect my Go High Level account to Obvio in order to get the attendees created automatically once they've checked out and bought the ticket and all that stuff. But if you get frustrated with ClickFunnels, check out the Go High Level. It's very good.
I'll make note of that.
And I found a very good reseller because they have affiliate resellers uh, who provides very good one-on-one tech advice in terms of the
Okay.
setups and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, and literally in an hour and a half, I built a whole brand new landing page with a checkout page, thank you page, the whole thing. Automated it, connected it to emails, connecting it to text. I got to get the text validation done, and it's really very, very good.
That's
Anyway,
good to know.
others are joining us. So I'm going to put myself back on mute before I get thrown out.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Who is
Thanks
that
for the
person
input.
that helped you with tech on Go High Level? Who is that person that helped you with tech on Go High Level? You were just saying?
It is a guy called Marcus. I left my phone somewhere. Hang on. Let me go find my phone. See what his last name is.
Hey, everybody. Heather James, what's going on?
Not much. How are you?
Excited to have you back on our calls.
You
Very.
get me.
Yeah, we'll take what we can get.
Hey,
What's up,
Blue.
Grant?
I'm just playing with our new feature.
It's exciting.
It's exciting.
So exciting.
Um,
You want to start with that?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty epic.
Take it away.
Oh, all right. So welcome everybody. We're gonna get into Q&A pretty quick, but we have a couple of no, it's not Marketplace. Stop asking questions, Robin. We have a couple of features that we've been working. Marketplace is closer, believe it or not, than it was. I will give you a Marketplace update and simply say to you that we've pushed it by a month. I'm hoping that it's done by the end of this month. I'm meeting every evening at 9 p.m. my time for 3 hours with our dev team that is taking the lead on that to go through testing and so on and so forth. So I'll be basically up until midnight working on it every day until it's actually working properly and we can get it into your hands. And trust me, I do not want to be working at those times. So as soon as we can get it fixed and working and in your hands, we will. But with that being said, we don't just have 2 developers, we have like 7, and they're always working on different things. And we have been working on making some really, really cool and important improvements to forms. Forms play a big role for us inside of the application, in that it's a way for us to gather information about our attendees. It's also a way for our attendees to remain engaged, right? So, for us to do polls, for us to ask questions of our attendees, or allow our attendees to ask questions of us, for us to do exercises with attendees, or laser coaching applications, or a survey on the front end on the waiver step. There's a whole bunch of areas that we use forms in order to make the event experience better, both for us and also for our attendees. And right now, we're in the midst of getting 3 new features into forms. The first one I'm going to tell you about isn't there yet, but it should be within the next week or so. My hope is that on the next call, I'll be able to show it to you. But one of the things we've been wanting to do is have something called conditional questions. And here's what that means. If you create a form and you have a radio select button, or a radio select type of question that is a yes or no, right? Like, do you own a business? Yes or no. When the person answers yes, have the ability to show them specific questions that relate to their business. Like, how long have you been in business? How much did you make last year? How many employees do you have? Or if they answer no, have them or be able to display different questions. Are you interested in starting a business? Something along those lines. So having some conditional questions inside of the form system can really increase the usefulness of an intake survey, as an example. Rather than having to show 7 questions, you could show 3 and then have 2 questions be conditional on a specific answer. So I think it's a really neat feature. A lot of, pretty much every major form system out there has that sort of feature. And we're excited to bring it into Obvio. So that's coming. You'll probably see that next week. I saw a demo of it earlier today. Once I start to see demos of things, it's oftentimes really close. The next thing, is a new way to do, the next thing that I'm going to share with you is statistics. One of the things that is not terribly helpful inside of the application right now, once you get forms submitted, the only way for you to get information out is to download the results and then either, bring those results into Excel or Google Sheet and try and figure out your statistics that way. There's no way even to see inside of the application how many people answered your question, right? How many people actually submitted the form? Or, if you look on the dashboard that you got into this with, there's a poll question, right? That is like, what's your favorite color? Well, there's no way to easily see what's the representation of that. So that's the first thing that I'm going to share with you, which is we've added statistics to the form system. So if I share my screen, I'm inside of the event that we're in right now. And if you're wondering where the poll is, if you go to the dashboard and you scroll down a little bit, there is a poll time. What's your favorite color? And you can select what your favorite color is and vote. Now, like I said previously, in order to get the responses, you would click on poll and you'd probably scroll down and you click download submissions. And that's where you would get all of the people who answered that poll, but it wasn't easy. So what we've done, if you click on from the forms menu, if you click on these 3 dots, you'll see a new option called view statistics. And when you click on view statistics, you'll see a couple of things. Number one, total submissions. If this total unique attendee submissions, if you happen to have a form that allows people to submit the form multiple times, it'll tell you how many unique attendees you have. And then for questions that are of a multiple choice varietal, right? So your radio button, your check boxes, your select boxes, they give you a graphical representation of what has been submitted thus far. Now, currently, you do have to refresh this page in order to get updates to that. So if some of you have already, while you're on this, like, hey, I wonder if it updates live in real time. It doesn't yet. That's something that we're working on as well. You can also change the representation. So if you'd rather have a bar graph, you can, or you can flip to pie charts. So those are, I think, pretty cool. And here, I'll just refresh that page for a moment. So if some of you, nope, none of you have done that yet. Anyway, I think that's a pretty neat feature, and it really opens up the ability for you to do polls, number one, right? So oftentimes people will actually use the Zoom polls feature, which I like, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I generally don't like it when I'm in an Obvio event. The reason for that is I much prefer to do polls through the dashboard for a couple of reasons. Number one, I have a little bit more information at my disposal and easily accessible about who submitted which answer. Number two, I can assign points, right? So I can use the gamification system for when people actually answer a poll, which isn't something that you can do in Zoom. And then now number three, number three, it allows us to continue to encourage engagement with the dashboard, which is always important for us. And then number four, and this is new, of course, being able to easily take a look at that information, right? So one of the things that you may do is do a demographic survey leading into your event, right? So on the waiver step, you have the ability to add a poll or add a form. And you may have 3 or 4 questions like an age range if you're trying to figure out how old your attendees are. So, which best describes you? 19 to 20 or whatever, different age brackets. You may have income brackets. You may have a male-female question. There's a whole bunch of different things, of course, that could be interesting to you. And then being able to, on the fly, before you start your event, go to this form statistics page and take a look at what your demographics are. So, okay, I know I have 62% women, and I know that most of them have been in business for 3 years or more. I know that 50% of them are making $100,000 a year or more in their business, right? These are the sorts of questions that if you ask, you can see some really interesting information about your attendees and have it be at your fingertips rather than having to download the CSV file and dive deep into Excel or Google Sheets to be able to get that information out. So I'm excited about that, as you can see. And I think it's a big up level to how the form system works. The next one is something that I'm actually, believe it or not, if you could believe it, because I'm pretty excited about these first 2 things. This third one, I'm even more excited about. So we now there's a new feature inside of Forms. And it's hidden in that same 3-dot menu, right? So you have statistics, but right above it, there's this new thing that you may have seen called moderation. And we envisioned this moderation tool to be used primarily with Q&A, but I can see people using it in different ways. But for now, I'm gonna think about this as a Q&A tool. Okay, and let me explain. So this form right here, which is Obvio questions. Oh, sorry, before I get into that, something to note, the statistics feature. It only works with forms or questions submitted after today. Okay, so if you had a form that you had people submit at your last event yesterday or a year ago, currently, the statistics feature won't work with those old questions submitted. We're working on something to retroactively fix that so that if you do want to go into an old form that was submitted to be able to see those statistics, but that's not there yet. But we're hoping that it will be in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so this form right here is the form that you guys fill out. It's a very simple one. Just ask your question, and there's really nothing else here. And that's the form that you fill out when you are on the dashboard and you click ask a question, right? And when you ask that question, you have a single text box and you submit your question. So for us, we now have this thing called moderation. And the way the moderation page works is it has 3 columns. It has incoming, it has approved, and it has on deck. And we see this as a 3-step moderation system, but I'm going to show you how you can use this to really just have a single moderation system rather than multiple steps. But for us, whether it's a Leap call or this Q&A call, we have our incoming. So the moment somebody submits a question, it shows up under this column, which is incoming. So we can see, all right, Nina has a question, Linda has a question. Then from there, we see questions that have been approved, right? These are questions that somebody on the team has said, yep, we want to answer this question. So how they approve a question is they quite literally drag it over to the other column, to the approved column. And you can move questions around within that column. The other thing you can do is you can use these little arrows. And if you use the arrow to the right, it'll drop it into the column on the right, to the right of it. Or if you use the arrow to the left, it'll move it backwards. Now, from there, the way we've designed this is, like I said, there's a multi-step approval process. So in my head and in Grant's head, how this has come about is you have questions submitted, you have somebody scanning all of those questions and saying, okay, these questions are approved to be answered. Like, we want to answer these questions. And then you have another person who's looking at all the approved questions and deciding what's next, right? So once we know which is next, those questions are dragged over into the on deck column. And you can do that quite simply by clicking right here and dragging again into the on deck column. And that's it. Now, there's a couple of other little things. There's this little trash icon. So if you don't like a question, like let's say I don't want to answer Robin's question, I would just click the trash icon. Now, that doesn't actually delete it. It just moves it to the trash tab. And you can see all questions that have been trashed. And you can also untrash it, which I'm going to do. Okay. The other thing that you can see is if you've already answered a question, right? Like, let's say there's this Blue Melnick, I'd like to know how Obvio's new form moderation feature works. Well, I feel like I don't need to answer that question. I'm doing it right now. So I can click on the checkbox, and that'll take the question and drop it onto the answered tab. So you can retroactively go back and see which questions you've answered, which questions you deleted. And none of this affects your ability to just download all the form submissions at the end of the event. This is strictly a moderation tool that you can use to take your Q&A that's coming into you and decide who and when to answer questions. Now, there's 2 additional features as it relates to this. You'll notice this little 3-dotted menu item. And in the 3-dotted menu item, there are 3 items. One is refresh. And if for some reason you feel as though there's questions that have come in and you want to double check to make sure everything in the on deck column is accurate, you can click refresh. And that will just kind of refresh this page. Now, if there's somebody, let's say you're working with double moderation, right? You have somebody remote and they're looking at all the incoming and moving them over to approved. As that happens, as testing the refresh, as that happens, right? So if Grant or Heather were to move that question from OnRec and move it into the approved column, this page that you're looking at will automatically refresh. It usually takes about 1 to 2 seconds, but it doesn't take a heck of a lot of time. So it maintains consistency between between devices.
For some reason, when I was dragging on your screen share, it wasn't working. I'm just not quite sure about that. It's early in the morning.
Fair enough. Okay, so next up, I think we would all probably agree that in the middle of an event, if you're the host, this is a difficult page to look at, right? There's 3 columns. There's just a lot of things here, like what the F am I answering next? Why does it look like this? So what we've done is if you click on the 3 dots, you'll see something called Stage View. And Stage View is a very cleaned up view of all of the questions that are in that specific column. Okay, so the Stage View that I'm looking at is the on deck column. And this is a screen that, like in our studio, we would have up on one of the televisions in front of us. In your case, you may have it on a laptop next to you, or I could see it being used on a phone or an iPad. And when you answer questions, you can still mark them as answered, or you can decide as the host, you know what, I don't want to answer this question. This question from, question number 2, I'm just going to delete that. I don't want to answer that question, because only this page is really meant for just you as the host to see. Okay. We're making a couple of minor design changes to it to make it a little bit easier to read. We're going to be changing some font sizes. We're going to be adding a little bit of grayscale from a color perspective. There's some minor changes that we're making to this page to make it a little bit easier on the eyes, a little bit easier to actually read. But oh my God, that question is back. I don't want to answer it. But here's the cool thing. You may have just seen that question return when Heather or Grant or anybody really makes changes and adds things to the on deck column. They automatically get added to this black page. So if you have a VA or an event assistant who's helping you during this Q&A time, and they're approving things and they're dragging things over on the form moderation page, you as the event host just need to have the stage view up so you can see questions as they come in, which is really neat. Now, if for some reason you're teching your own show, right? It's just you don't have anybody helping you, but you want to use this feature. You just don't want to go from incoming to approved to on deck. Like dragging stuff around is just, I don't want to deal with that. No problem. If you click on the 3 dots on the incoming column and click on stage view, now the stage view will show up and it will show questions that are in the incoming column. And any new questions that get submitted will automatically get added to this page. So it allows you to have a complex moderation system, but also allows you to have a fairly simple moderation system. And then, like I said, I can mark something as checked off or trash something if I don't want to read it. So that's the Q&A system. There's also on this stage view, there's a little plus and minus button down at the bottom of the page. If your eyes need a little bit more text size, you just click the plus a couple of times and it'll increase the size. If you want to see more things on the page, just click the minus button and the same thing will happen. So a little easy way to increase or decrease the font size on this particular page to try and make your life as easy as possible to do that. Okay. So there's one more feature that is inside of form moderation, or inside of inside of this form moderation thing. And what I'm going to say is it's only helpful if you are a little bit more advanced as a user. Okay. And that's the ability to do something like what Grant has done on his video. You'll notice that, and I can do it here as well. You have the ability to bring up what's called a lower third inside of, with a little bit of work. So I'm just going to say inside of with a little bit of work, because that's how I'm going to say it for now. Now, how you bring up the lower third is also in that 3-dotted menu. You click lower third. Now, what that does is it opens up a black screen with a lower third. It's not going to look like mine does because we have formatted this. And you're able to format that. Now, the reason why I say this will only be helpful for those of you who are a little bit more advanced is because you then need to take the contents of this web page, feed it into a video switcher, and remove the black so that you can overlay it over top of video like I'm doing in my video right now. Now, you don't need a whole lot of expensive gear. I am just using like a Mac Mini, or sorry, an ATEM Mini to do this, which is like a $300 piece of gear. I know there's quite a few of you on this call who actually have one of those. And what I've done is I've connected an older computer and put it on this lower third page that you're seeing. And essentially, when I, when I open up something called a keyer, right, I'm able to remove the black and add this content. Now, what's neat about this is it also automatically updates, right? So if you look at my video, and I want to answer Carolyn's question first, what'll wind up happening is the lower third automatically updates to be the question that is at the top of the whatever column you're looking at, right? You can get a lower third for the on deck column, you can get a lower third for the approved column, and you can get a lower third for the incoming column. And how you make tweaks to this particular, like to this lower third, right? You may not want a gradient view. You may want different text. You may want it floating differently. How you make changes to that is actually pretty simple. You click on the gear and you get, which is up in, right up in the, so there's a plus minus on this page, which is similar to the plus minus that is on the stage view page, allows you to just scale up the lower third. But next to it, there's also a little gear. And what that gear does is it allows you to move it around. So if I wanted this lower third to be on the left-hand side, if I didn't want there to be a margin at the bottom, if I didn't want there to be a border or a border radius, I could do something like this. So now you see inside of the page that I'm looking at, that I'm screen sharing, it has now moved around. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to refresh the page, the lower third page that I'm looking at, or that is connected to my ATEM Mini. It's going to take a moment or so to reflect those changes. And now the lower third shows up completely differently. So if I can also make those same changes here. I can move the left margin if I wanted to. I can move the bottom margin to bring it up a little bit. So lots of possibilities. I can change the background to, rather than be a gradient, I can have it be a solid color, or you can make it an image if you want. You can have borders around it. You can change the border radius similar to buttons. And then you can also, you have typography settings for the names and the answers. So if I wanted the name in this case to be a little bit bigger, I could do that pretty easily. or if I wanted a different font type, I could do that as well. So all of that is done inside the application on the lower third page, makes it fairly easy to actually make what's called a lower third if you have some of the hardware required to do that stuff. So it's all connected to this form moderation feature that's live currently. So what I've been looking at and how you guys are submitting your questions today is using I mean, you've always used the form feature, but we're actually using the moderation feature today to show you or to answer your questions. So there you go. Fred, the overlay is coming out. It's coming out of Obvio, yes, but it's then embedded onto your video feed through something like OBS or Ecamm could work. I happen to be using an ATEM Mini to bring the overlay up. But yes, it's the lower third is rendered on a website. And as long as you can bring that website into your video switching software or tool, then you're able to, for the most part, key out or remove the black background and have it be an overlay over top of your video. So it's pretty neat. And there's a couple of little things, but as you guys, like I said, the intention behind this moderation feature was really to use it with Q&A. So to use it with forms that really only have one question in it. But you can use the moderation feature for forms that have multiple questions. So, play around with it and see how you like it, because I think it's pretty neat. Grant?
It is pretty neat. We,
Yeah.
we were both so excited that we both were getting the lower third going on the screen.
Yeah, I'm such a nerd that I actually watched watched an office hours recently with the guy from Mix Effects who was he was like, hey, look, these useless buttons on the A10 Mini Pro, you know how you
Right.
wish you could have them do other things? So I actually, I have my
You
wipe.
geeked out.
Yeah, I really did. I have my wipe button set to enable my downstream key.
Nice.
Anyway. Okay, so that's that. If you guys have questions around this, be happy to answer those questions. We'll probably get to some raised hands eventually, but for fun, you may want to just submit them via the Ask a Question button on the dashboard so we can use the form moderation feature, because we are nerds and we do like to use the stuff we build. All right, Grant.
All right. I should put it back on. Yeah. Henrik, setting up a new event and dashboard from scratch and have a few questions about it. Connecting to Go High Level and broadcasts, welcome messages, notifications, and sending magic links by text through Go High Level. Would you help? No.
There are a lot of questions there, Henrik. So first off, I guess I could bring up my lower third at the same time. Although I've really kind of ruined it a little bit by making some changes to it. I want to change this back down here. There we go. Then maybe center it. I do like it centered.
Yeah,
Like
I didn't catch where are you exactly editing that? I caught everything except that where the button is to edit it. But it could be that on my side because I don't have any questions.
On the actual lower third page, right next to the plus minus buttons up at the top of the top right corner of the lower third page, there's a little gear. And if you click on that gear, it brings out a little slide out. And that slide out or that config panel looks kind of like this. And you can make changes to you know, to the settings of your thing, right? So if I wanted rounded rectangles or a rounded edge around my, here, I'll actually just do that and increase my border thickness. There you go. So you can make little tweaks like that nice and easily.
Yeah, it's probably because on my side I've just installed it, so I don't have any form submissions yet to play with. So.
Yeah, there may not be. I think there may have to be an actual form in order to see it. Yeah. Okay. So setting up a new event and dashboard from scratch. Questions 1, connecting Go High Level. Connecting Go High Level is relatively easy. What you have to do first off is go into services, click on Go High Level. It asks you, I believe, to authenticate.
Yes, done that successfully.
Great. Now, once you've done that, Go High Level is going to it's going to actually create it's going to create a tag that is the tag you have to use to identify. It's your umbrella tag to identify your attendees as attendees. For a number of reasons, unlike some of the other implementations of services, this one, we actually define the tag rather than you. So now what you need to do is you take that tag that is created for you on the Go High Level services page, and you apply that tag to all of your attendees. That can be automated, I believe, inside of Go High Level. I'm not a high level expert, but I believe on purchase you can apply a tag. So as long as you can do that, you should be able to.
I can share screen with you, or just go to event 3921. What do you prefer?
You can share screen.
Okay. All right, desktop 2. Okay.
So Obvio-raise-041024. You copy that, and then inside of Go High Level or High Level, you apply that tag to all of your attendees.
Well, that has to be an automation then, right? So I have to, when a new user is created, I've got to give them that tag.
Yeah, I don't know how you're getting your content. How are you selling your tickets, Onric? Are you selling them on ClickFunnels and then using Zapier or something?
No, I switched everything to Go High Level. So this is the checkout page, right? Step 2 of the checkout page.
Okay.
Then
so I am 100% not familiar with all of the different pieces and parts inside of Go High Level. With that being said, awesome. And you guys can connect on that offline.
Cool.
What I would suggest to you is that there is probably, and Heather, you can give me a thumbs up if I'm right here, on purchase, you can apply a tag.
Yes.
And so what you're going to want to do is apply not only whatever other tags that you have already being applied, but you also want to add the tag that Obvio just gave you to that flow. And then if you have anybody who has already purchased, you need to look up those people and add that tag manually to those people.
There you go. Copy paste the tag right there. You copied from Obvio. Boom. Add tag. Save. Yep. Save action. Yeah, that's it. And then once that's done, then that will sync. Make sure you're syncing with Obvio, then it'll sync.
Okay, so then when I've got a new ticket purchase, which means I've got a new contact created inside Go High Level, then that contact is immediately going to come and turn up here and show up in the attendees
Make sure
list.
you sync. You don't have that toggle on. Go back to that. Make sure you have the toggle on to sync.
Yeah.
Where is that?
Services. Go back to High Level. Up at the top. There you go.
Yes. Thank you. Because then
now the other thing, Onric, that you want to do is you want to create a field where we're going to save your login URL. So click Create New Field.
Create new field. There we go. Yeah.
Okay. And just leave it as text. And what do you want? This is creating a field in High Level from Obvio. So it's using the API.
What do you want
the magic
link?
For the
link.
magic link. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Create new field, magic link.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think you've already done it. You've
Yeah,
already done it.
already done it.
So now, in addition to that, you want to probably create a tag on check-in.
Create attendee checked in.
Yeah. So again, this is going to create, if you click create tag, this is going to create the tag in high level. You can create it in high level if you prefer, but this just gives you a shortcut to allow you to create it in Obvio.
All right. And so we call that tag what?
Whatever you want. It identifies them as having checked in. You can call them purple lily butterfly if you really want to, as long as you remember that purple lily butterfly means that they've checked into your event.
Better start smoking some stuff here for this. Event checked in.
Yeah.
Or attendee.
If I was you, I would probably include the name of your event. And if you think that this is going to be an event that you do over and over again, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's
And then you want to, I don't know if you're doing a waiver.
Yes.
But if you want,
The
if you want to
whole thing.
identify people who have signed the waiver, just in case people signed the waiver but did not yet check in, so you can send an email out to those folks. You can, yeah.
And
All right. There, and then just click save.
do we need a tag for attendee created or not?
Probably not. You can if you want to. All that identifies inside of high level that the attendee has actually been created in Obvio. The magic link field being populated also identifies that. So you have two. Doing that tag would allow you to have two things. You can if you want.
And groups. Obviously this is going into one of my other questions I placed. If they're answering questions in the forms, then I can create tags or groups based on their form responses.
You can't.
That's that.
No,
okay.
you actually can't. So first off, attendee groups here. This is, are there any contact properties or fields that you want to import from high level into Obvio? That's what add group is for. Most people do not do that, right? There are very few reasons for you to need to do that because by default, we import first name, last name, email address, and we import all of your tags from high level. You probably don't need anything else. There are some cases where that could be helpful. Like as an example, Grant had an event a couple of years ago now where he wanted to have the state of each attendee imported into Obvio so that in Zoom, it would have my name and then -SC next to my name. And in order to do something like that, you actually need the data in a field or in a group inside of Obvio. So you can import things like city, state, country, stuff like that. But for most people, it's not necessary. It's only necessary for very specific tasks.
Okay. All right. So now I've created these tags in here. So you're saying that they are going to automatically turn up magically over here.
Yep. If you go and you look into wherever inside of there are, you can see tags, it'll show. And I don't, like I said, I don't.
You go into settings. Yeah, I can help you. Go to the bottom to left settings and you click on tag settings. And then scroll down to the left-hand side. And then you'll see tags right there. There it is. And also he's missing one more piece, Blue, is to take that custom field and put that in so they get the magic link.
He did that.
Well, to show the custom field, he can copy to send it out like the SMS and the email.
No, but he did that. That was one of the.
That was an automation, a workflow automation, but I might not have.
No. Go back into Obvio. I think what Heather's talking about is to make sure that the magic link login URL field is don't click create new field. You've already done it.
Yeah. Select the custom field.
So
Go ahead.
yeah, so the custom field is already there. You called it magic link.
Yeah.
And so if you go back into high level, and you should see if you go.
Attendees,
I don't
right?
know how you see tags, but
Go to the left-hand side, go back to settings,
Okay.
and then scroll down, you'll see custom fields, scroll down, right here, above that, custom
Oh, I see.
fields. Custom
fields.
field, yeah. And then just want to check it. There's the magic link. So you see that unique key? You see that unique key? Go over number 3. Unique key, one more.
Oh, there we go.
You
Yeah.
see that? Yeah, when you copy that, that's what you put in the emails, like you're registered, here's your link. That's what you put into emails and text messages. That's the magic link. It'll sync with Obvio and give them the magic link.
Oh, that's excellent. That is fantastic, because that really does allow you to do that then by text and by email. Send that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted you to know that's how you get it over to them is you click on that, you copy and put it in all your text messages and email.
Gotcha. Contact. Yeah. No, that's excellent. That's really excellent.
Okay, so I think that covered the question, because that covered one of the other questions that was in that question. So I also see that you had another question posted, which is, would love to add a poll to have my attendees classify what business they're in.
Sorry, Blue, I checked off the other one. I didn't realize it would change on your screen. That's my bad.
It's okay. Just go into it's going to be under answered. Just unanswer it and then put it at the top of the on deck screen. Okay, so I actually forget what the question. Oh, polls. So where should you add it? Should you have it be at sign up? And I assume when you say have it be at sign up, do you mean here or do you mean at the actual registration for the event?
Yeah, well, I've got three places that I could do it. I could do it on the form of the sign up of the registration, do it on the check-in for the waiver, or point 3, do it like your what's your favorite color, put it on the actual dashboard, right?
Yeah. If it were me, this is where I would do it. I don't like to put stuff like that on the registration page for the event, because I think it reduces, it adds friction to signing up, and any friction, I want as little friction as possible. So the only information that I ask for at the time of registration is the information that I most need. And while that information is useful, I have another opportunity to ask them that question further down, which is where I would rather do it. I like to do it. A question like that is something like what industry they're in is a question that, and how I answer this question for myself, Henrik, is, do I want to know this question for all attendees? Like, do I want every single attendee to answer that question? If the answer is yes, then I build a form and I put it on the waiver step, because in order to get into the event, they have to sign the waiver. In order to sign the waiver, they also have to sign the question. So you're going to get 100% participation of everybody who checks in.
Yeah, because the way I want to use it, Blue is like what you said about Grant earlier. Based on their answer, I want to basically put, this is an event about raising capital. So I want to put behind their name whether they are a private banker, whether they are an entrepreneur that's looking to raise capital, whether they are a money manager, they're a hedge fund, they're a real estate, venture capital. That helps me talk to my audience. And allows me to immediately, if they're answering a question, frame it in their industry. So it would be super helpful to me.
Yep.
Emojis would be great for that.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Emojis. Yeah, would be great for that. As long as you knew the sort of half a dozen that you were going to use. You have a little house for real estate and things like that,
Yeah. What you're going to want to do. So we had this question last week. I think it may have been Robin actually who asked the question, which is, can you apply a tag based on a form response? And the answer is no, you can't. I mean, you can in a very long drawn out way. There's a way to make it happen, but baked into Obvio, there is not a way to apply a tag based on a specific form response. However, rules have the ability to be based on form responses. And rules are what you actually use to create labels. So let's say Grant was just saying that emojis would be great, right? So let's say you wanted, this star to be applied based on a specific answer. So you go under visibility rules for labels, and you select form response. You select the form. So I'm going to use poll. Then you select question, and then you select is blue. So form response, poll, what's your favorite color, is blue. So now when I click save and back, everybody who has the question blue or the answer blue, when they join Zoom, they'll get a star added to their name.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. So, form responses can be defined to create labels. So while you can't technically add a tag specifically, you can have the same end result.
Yeah, I've done that with my coffee shop where I put people into the coffee drinkers and the tea drinkers and the whiskey drinkers, and then the little icon appears right next to them. But I had no idea you could drop that out of the form, because that's obviously where it would be super useful.
Yep, totally. Good.
No, excellent, excellent. I've got one more question there, but that's because my system is not sending out any mails, no broadcasts, no nothing at the moment. But we can come to that at a later point, or I can take that offline if I'm doing something wrong.
Why don't we get to our next questions, and then I'll come back to you, Anrik.
Cool.
Thank you.
You want me to keep doing quick? I can do the questions
Why
from
not?
Sarah.
Because I haven't actually looked at it.
Okay. Very good. Taking my own show. It's suddenly become more important to have it on the screen when we never have before. How did you do the poll question? It was so cool. Also, in the Nifty 50 template, can you add gamification to the app section buttons?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to answer the second question first because it's easy. No, you can't. That's a great question though. And when I saw it I think you posted it in Facebook, I did see that and I thought to myself, that's interesting. Wouldn't that be nice? Anyway, so it is on my my list of things to revisit, both on the Nifty 50 template, but also on Town Hall template has something similar where you can add menu items, and those menu items don't have gamification currently tied to them. So you may see that at some point in the future. The other question that you had was around the poll question. And I think to a certain extent we've answered that, but just to kind of go through it quickly, I created a new form inside of Obvio. And for that form, I named it. I had my submit label, which is the text that goes on the button. I had a submitted message that I typed in, which is thank you for your vote. I left the rest of these blank, although you can have both a redirect URL as well as a webhook submission URL. Both of those I think are probably advanced level moves that you probably don't need. You can apply points for having people answer a question or answer the form. You can also apply tags in external services, right? So this event has connected to Infusionsoft and Zapier, so we can apply tags externally based on form responses. And then I created a new question. The question type was a radio select or radio. And then I added 5 different options just by clicking add option. And then I clicked save. That got me the question that was here. Then I scrolled all the way up to the top and clicked save changes. Make sure you do that. I navigate away from this edit form page a lot, having forgotten to click save changes and then wonder why my changes weren't saved. So just something to keep in mind on the form page. You do have to, on the edit form page, you do have to go back up to the top and click Save Changes. From there, I went to the dashboard editor and I added a blog post. And inside that blog post, I selected the poll as the form that I wanted to show inside that blog post. And that now has it show up on the dashboard under the blog post section. So that's the full circle of how that particular poll was added to the dashboard.
Any chance you could work quickly through your Q&A the way you had created the Q&A, because that's brilliant.
Ask that one more time.
If you could just do a quick rundown of how you created today's Q&A as a form, because we can all use that. That was just excellent.
So how we created today's form was also very, very simple. So these forms are all very simple forms, right? So again, I clicked new form, and how I set up the questions is, because it's Q&A, we clicked allow multiple submissions, right? So that if you have more than one question, you can continue to ask questions. It's not limited to one submission per attendee. Then the submit label has submit my question. The submitted message, we typed something a little bit longer. And basically, I mean, if you submit a question, you'll see what it says. And then from there, there's one question in here, which is a long answer text with the question, what is your question? Nothing else is selected in here. It's pretty straightforward. Went up to the top, clicked save. I then went to the design of the dashboard. We added a button, and that button, rather than going to a link or an area, goes to a form. And then we selected the name of the form, which in this case is new Obvio questions, and click save. So now when you click the ask a question button, a little modal or pop-up window opens up and allows you to submit a question. And then once that happens, and your attendees start to submit your questions, it now starts to show up on the form moderation page like this. Right? It actually, they first start coming in under incoming, and then the team is moving things around so that I can see them on my stage view.
When you're ready for them, Blue, when do you tell it to put it on? Like, I'm ready to have it on your lower third. Where's that?
So the lower third is always rendered based on the top question in whichever of the columns that you used to open the lower third, right? So from the form moderation page, we're using on deck right now. So we clicked on the three dots and clicked lower third. When we did that, that opens up a page. And the question that's at the top of on deck is what's displayed. Okay, so if I go back here and I look at on deck, Nina Gomez is the question that was displayed. Now you can also open up the lower third from approved. And if you open up the lower third from approved, then it also, it shows a different lower third because it's based on the top question in the approved column. So, you know, when you're ready for the next question is really like, if I were to, I'm going to just move Nina's question down one. So if I were to check it off, or if I were to delete it, then the lower third is automatically updated with the question that's at the top of whatever column you're working within. Did that make sense, Heather?
Yes, I guess like right now, can you show me how you put any, I don't care which one, just put it on your lower third right now. Like what button do you say? Oh, what are you pressing?
I'm pressing a button on an A10 mini. So remember that the lower thirds, this is where I said the lower thirds is a really cool feature, but it does require either hardware or software of some sort to be able to overlay that black screen that has the lower third on it over top of my video. So I have in front of me, I have a second computer that is connected via HDMI into an ATEM Mini. And my ATEM Mini, I've set up, in my case, I've set up a downstream, what's called a downstream key, so that I can press a button, the downstream key pops up, it's removing the black from the page, and all that's left is the color.
Got it. Okay. So we can do ATEM Mini, or can we do OBS with that, or just ATEM
Yep.
Mini? Okay.
Yep.
All right. That's what I understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Nina.
Yeah, I think they're both sort of related. So the first one, if we put it back, is that if I have more than 500 participants on my event, do I need to purchase extra accesses for them to check in, or only at the time of the broadcast?
Okay, so if you have more than 500 participants checked into your event, then you do have to purchase an add-on to increase the capacity of your event. They're purchased in 250 person blocks, so you can increase capacity from 500 to 750, from 750 to 1,000, from 1,000 to 1,250, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of when you have to purchase these blocks, Obvio never, ever, ever, ever blocks the experience of your attendees. Okay. So if you, let's just say you build your dashboard and you start getting people registered and you're sending out an email automatically with a user's magic link to have them go to the dashboard a week before the event, and you're not logging into Obvio at all, you're just, that's all on automation, and you get to 1,500 attendees. All 1,500 of those attendees will actually be able to access the dashboard without you purchasing an add-on. There's nothing that you need to do, okay? What happens when your event gets over 500, what we call active participants or active attendees? And think of an active attendee as if they've checked in, they're an active attendee. If they've loaded the dashboard once, they're an active attendee. If they've set a password or signed a waiver, they're an active attendee. If they've interacted with the dashboard in any way, we consider them an active attendee. The moment you go over 500 active attendees, there's a little warning inside of the Obvio UI, the back end, not what your attendees see. Your attendees will never see this warning. Okay, this is just when you go to log into Obvio to make a change to your dashboard. You'll get a warning message that says you have an event that has exceeded capacity. Please purchase an add-on in order to solve that, right? So it blocks you from being able to make changes to your dashboard or honestly doing anything inside of the platform until you resolve the situation. And once you, let's say you're at 502, okay? All you have to do is you go in and you purchase one add-on to increase capacity to 750, and now it unlocks your ability to make changes and you can keep moving. But like I said, your attendees will never see that message, and your attendees will never be prevented from logging into the dashboard or honestly joining Zoom. All that's happening is we are preventing the back end, right? What you experience from having changes made to it until that is changed, until that is resolved. So that's, hopefully that answers that question, Nina. Is Nina on this call? I don't see Nina. Am I off on that? I do not see Nina. Okay. So I'm going to call an audible and say, I'm sure we've answered this question someplace. Grant, what do you think? You're muted.
I think it's a common question and understanding about once you go over 1,000, what do you do? And so without getting into how to do it, the thing is that you just need to know that Obvio handles getting people, attendees into Zoom. It doesn't handle you getting your content, the host video and audio, into Zoom. And so, Nina, you're asking all the right questions about how do I do that, and then how do I get someone who's talking from one room into the other room, and that's quite complex. And it's really a whole bunch of production techniques that are needed to do that. So yeah, we have spoken about it a few times, but the basics of it is that you need to have some sort of mix minus. It's important that you're not sending the same audio back into the same meeting. So one way around this is to only take questions from one room, and then you just send all of that audio into the other room. But I would just encourage you that once you're getting over 1,000 people coming to your event, hopefully that can justify you having a team of people to look after it for you, and get someone like Justin James or Muddy or others that could help you just make it happen for you, and then you just focus on making the event better. So, and that's not to say that you aren't all capable of doing this. It totally is. It's just picking your lane and keeping to it. So yeah, I think it's probably something that we could make a little video specifically about, but it's probably all I'm going to say is the same thing. Get someone who does it all the time to do it for you. So cool. Robin is saying, how can I create broadcast email to include both personal magic link and a general login link for the event?
Yeah, so inside of broadcasts, when you create a new broadcast, and you're typing it down here, number one, you would add the login URL. That's the magic link. And then number two, you would go and that is the generic link. So I'm not going to type out the question, of course, or type out the format of the email, but it's as simple as that. You include the variable or the merge code to actually include the full login URL. And then if you want to include a link to the generic login page, or truthfully, to any URL on the internet, you can just type that in to the email as well.
So am I typing login URL, or do I have to, that's the person's personal magic link, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So how merge fields work inside of Obvio, Robin, is when you add these variables right here, right? Any one of these variables get replaced. Pardon me?
I just saw that it actually says attendees magic link. I didn't see that.
That's okay. But they all get replaced when the email is sent with the data from the email or from the user themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Next question. Boom.
Linda, I asked to get communication and chat bubble enabled in my Obvio, and the communication was, but the chat bubble was not there. I was asked to possibly change browser, but I'm using a Mac and my default is Safari, which other Leap members use and have no issues. Yeah, I think we were trying to diagnose this. It definitely is an isolated case. And
yeah,
that
it's
is
not something that we enable or disable, Linda, per attendee or per user. Yeah, so I think what I would probably do as a starting point, if I was you, is possibly try and just clear your history, which is to clear your cache. I believe Safari, under the Safari menu, there's an option called clear history, and then just say all history and click clear. Before you do that, that will log you out of anything you're logged into in Safari, which means the next time you go to Gmail or the next time you go to whatever, you're going to have to log back in. But it will also do a fresh download of Obvio and make sure that you are running on the latest version of the code. And oftentimes when we see issues like that, that's the fastest and easiest way to fix it.
Okay. Carolyn, are we able to accept payments yet using Obvio? Thank you.
No. Boo. Thanks for that question, Carolyn.
That's all right. And Dana, is the transcript available to be saved by the host only, also participants? Just
Love
wanted
that
to ask the question.
I love that you're asking that question while the other question is on your lower third.
Oh, well, what's in the list though?
What?
What's in the list?
The question that's on your screen.
No, it's not. I just dragged it in. Oh,
Do
do
we
I have
break it?
to do it?
That,
Yep.
that happened fast.
That was quick. Yeah, look, I'll show you. Mm-hmm.
Have you tried clicking refresh on your browser?
That's awesome.
Oh, it's great to have you back, Heather. That's interesting. It went to the bottom instead of straight over. So I might be able to reproduce that. Is the
Did you use
transcript
the arrow?
available?
Did you
No.
use the arrow? No,
No.
you dragged it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed a couple of things that are a little fun around that.
Yeah. Is the transcript available? I like that you totally ignored my question, the question that I read, because it wasn't the exact thing that was on the screen.
No, I was just trying to say something's not right.
Is the transcript available to be saved by the host only, also participants? Just wanted to ask a question.
The transcript is currently not able to be saved by participants, and it is saved by the host and accessible in recordings in the area/room that the event took place in. But you can't enable. We have on purpose turned off the ability for attendees to be able to download a transcript.
Okay.
Can we turn that back on? Or do we have to ask
No.
you to turn it back on? We just can't use it? No go.
So the transcript is saved for you as the host, if you're the host. Okay. So it's saved within Obvio. You can log into your Obvio account. You can go to Zoom areas. You can click on the area. Then you can click on the room number, the number 1 or whatever. And then you can click on recordings. And one of the options that will be available to you to download is the transcript. Okay. So you can download the transcript. What I'm saying is inside the Zoom meeting, for some people, when like in some meetings, you can actually download the transcript as a participant, as a participant inside of Zoom directly from I think from the closed captions area. That's not something that we have enabled inside of Obvio by design. Most of our clients who are teaching content value their IP and don't want people to just be able to download transcripts. And if you do want to make that transcript available to your participants, there's nothing stopping you from downloading it and then putting it as a resource on the dashboard after the fact. You can 100% do that. But inside of Zoom, no, there is no way to turn that on.
Yeah, we often don't want to make it easy for people to quote you either. So it's another reason you don't want to make that available, to make it really easy.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
But it does record. Like if it is one of the things that is recorded to the cloud automatically, we do have that turned on. So no issues there. You will have access to it. Your attendees will not.
Okay. Enric, I've connected Obvio to high level account. Could you help me create the automation to add new user? Is this what we did before? Such as
It
a
is.
successful purchase. Okay, good. Very good. David, do we have the option to not include the participant's name in the lower third question feature?
Not yet, David, but I did have that thought the other day as we were building this out that I want to add a checkbox on the config panel that will be on by default to allow the user to not display the participant's name. So I do have that on my list of things that I want to do because I recognize that sometimes people are looking for a little bit more
Anonymity.
Yeah, exactly. You'll still be able to see it like on the moderation page, but on that lower third, which is intended to be brought in as an overlay and, viewable by other attendees, I could see there being a use case where a user doesn't want their attendee names to be able to be seen, right? Especially if you work with minors or if you work in a sensitive, like using under a sensitive topic. So I could totally see that being the case. And it's
Can I ask a corollary question to that?
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're doing an event and you actually have your own FAQs that you want to be sure are presented to the audience, the lower third feature, that's very nice to have a display while you're discussing and answering that question. So yeah, definitely having the radio button, having the option to not have an included name. It may, sort of be presented as an audience question, but it's not actually a question that an audience member asked at that event. It's a frequently asked question that you're,
that
framing.
you have logged in as an attendee and submitted yourself, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I could see that totally. That would be
Cool.
another way if you're faking questions where you may want to not have the fake participant name show up. Yeah, no, that's totally. I see it in a couple of different areas, but yeah, I definitely. I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, but I did think about that as we were building this out. There's a few little things that we're working on, and one of them is I actually find the stage view to be a little harsh on the eyes, right? Especially when you have a lot of questions. Like it's nice and easy to see, but it's also just a tiny bit. It's a little bit off. So like today we worked on a new design for it that is going to look like. Hold on, let me see if I can. I can show you a sample.
While you're finding that, I would just say just a little bit on questions. I think about the importance of interactivity, and that it's live. When it is live, you want to maximize the fact that it is live. Otherwise, it might as well be a pre-recorded event, and it can you can just send it out as content people can watch on demand. And something that I really like is, I've heard it said that the sweetest thing that someone can hear is their own name, particularly said properly. And so when you're saying a name and reading their question verbatim, I think one of the things that can annoy people is when you interpret their question, and often incorrectly, or you bundle a bunch of questions together. What it does is it says that you didn't really read their question. They've taken time to write that question in, even if it's incorrect or it's in some ways. You're honoring them by reading their question and saying their name, and I think there's a lot of value in that. And that's not discounting, David, what you're saying about frequently asked questions. But I would say that frequently asked questions would be like, hey, I just want to cover off a couple of things that people ask all the time. Here they are, bang, bang, bang. And now we're going to get onto your live questions, and here we go. Rather than passing them off as live. Because it's just really transparent, and you're getting to the people's questions that are there at the time. I think there's a lot of value in that. So, but there is some use cases for it.
Totally agree, Grant. I'm just thinking of a scenario, yes, where it's clear you are answering frequently asked questions. Having the question appear in a lower third while you're responding to it just gives that visual reinforcement of the question. You know what I'm saying? And also, last corollary, will the lower third feature in Obvio be available for other applications other than question and answer? Is that under consideration? Having it, you know, versus designing your own lower third for other purposes within the ATEM unit or such.
We have not had a lot of discussion around it. This is I think the first real discussion that Grant and I had about the lower third feature was a week ago. So, it's come a long way in a really short period of time. I understand the question, and I understand, it's actually a pretty easy system to use, right? So to design a decent looking lower third can actually happen pretty quick. The challenge that I have around it is I feel as though there are other systems out there that are better, faster, and easier to create lower thirds than this is, especially for like a name and title, right? Like if I were to I just think there are other systems out there. So this one solved a problem where if we wanted to create dynamic lower thirds and easily change this, it's like that, right? And I think there's something big there, and I think it's really valuable. While I appreciate the question, I'm not sure that we'd go down that road. Now, I've been wrong before. I'm fairly certain when we first launched Obvio, I said something along the lines of, you'll never not be able to create a password. It's just is what it is. And soon after that, it's, not there anymore. There's a lot of things that Grant and I have said, yeah, we'll never do that we have actually done.
You'll never be able to time things to be able to turn them off and on, on the dashboard.
Yeah, you'll never be able to log in without a password. You'll never be able to do it with just an email address. You'll always need both. All of these things that we can be proven wrong.
It's worth mentioning, like as you were saying, Blue, right from the start. The first developer that we got on board was Aiden, and he's still with us, and he has built this whole moderation section and done an incredible job. Really, really good in a very short space of time. Has managed to make this, and so he's not listening, but credit where it's due. Aiden is a very valuable member of our development team right from the start. He single-handedly built, what did we call that, version 3? But there was 2. There was version 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Aiden, the reality is that if it wasn't for Aiden, the first event with Tony Robbins wouldn't have happened.
It's true.
He did a really bang up job.
Which means that all of the subsequent ones wouldn't have been on Obvio.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. It's important that it goes on the screen. There we go. Blue, none of my emails, broadcast, welcome message, even password resets are being delivered. Can you help, please?
That sounds like a slightly bigger problem.
Does a little bit. That doesn't sound like a you problem, Henrik.
Yeah. Like if nothing's being delivered, wait, password resets aren't being delivered either.
Yeah, no, nothing. And I've previously used the broadcast function pretty well and effectively, and I've, done all my trial and error in there, and I do use it. So, but I'm setting up a new event in a new client. So I'm wondering if I screwed something up somewhere.
Oh, probably. Yeah, definitely. It was definitely you. It was not me.
Yeah. No, it's not me.
Well, that's the thing, is they are different as far as whether it's coming from your email address, or the reply to is yours for welcome emails and the broadcasts, whereas the whereas the password resets are obviously different. That's not dependent on you.
Yeah, even the test messages are not, nothing's being delivered. It's kind of weird.
What
It's got me stumped.
about attendee export?
It's only 4. I mean, there's only one attendee in there at the moment.
That's
But,
right.
let me check the export. All right, we'll send you a download link to your email. Okie dokie. Yep. I just got literally 6 emails coming in. You've been added to the organization. No, those are that's just me adding users. Nope. No, still nothing.
I just got an export.
Yep, I got an
Okay.
export too. I got an export saying, yep, attendees are exported.
Okay.
It's weird. I have a little disconnect. I have a former email address linked to Obvio, and my Leap account is on a different account, but that shouldn't matter.
As long as you can get both of those
Yeah, they
email
both
addresses.
come.
Yeah.
They both come in the same inbox. Yeah.
Hmm.
So happy to work with. I don't want to waste everyone's time on that. So I'm happy to work with you know, is it help@obv.io?
Yep.
On that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, take me off. Yep, I'll mute.
Robin, when you create our dashboards for us, are you creating all the tags, etc., for us, or just designing the look of the dashboard?
We are designing the look of the dashboard, and we'll work with you on some of the tag stuff as well. Yeah. The stuff that we're not doing is we don't add blog posts, we don't add speakers, we don't add sponsors, we don't add the content into the dashboard. You're responsible
copy.
for adding the content, but once the framework is built, once the design is built, all that stuff is just like copy paste off of Google Docs, so nice and easy.
The labels, is that done?
We can help you create the labels as long as the tags exist, then we can support that.
Okay.
Right? Because we don't actually create the tags, generally speaking. What happens is the tags are created from from whatever service you're importing your attendees from.
So should I do anything prior to requesting it being done? Should I like start something, or do I just give you all the information?
You generally just give us all the information. There's a form that you fill out and we take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, and then can we have the option to allow the participants to change their names? This is something I've used with students to help with groups. Yeah, so within Zoom, that's just a security option that you can choose to have them rename themselves. That's an in Zoom in meeting option that you can change. That's not an account setting or anything. So there's a couple of different places you can do it. The easiest is there's the security button when you're a host or co-host. There's a security button down the bottom, and it just has allow all participants to, and then you can choose screen share, chat, rename themselves, unmute, start video, those sorts of things. And so you can just hit rename and away it goes. And of course, that's not changing them in the Obvio attendee. And that is an option, you know, that you can do that. You could also add labels so that it automatically does it based on groups that you assign or things. But otherwise, if it's all just in meeting, then you can do it that way. Henrik, are these YouTube live recordings available to anyone publicly through the Obvio online channel? Yes, they are.
Yep.
Um,
Not only that, but this call is also accessible to anybody who's an Obvio user, or if you have a team member that's helping you with Obvio, they can just go to update.obv.io and they can actually sign up for these calls without any. There's no blockers. We don't really limit these calls.
And then Heather, can you please show how to set up where there is no magic link, but only a password?
But only a
Password. To be only an email, not only a password. Right.
tell me what you mean? Yeah, because I'm not sure I understand.
So
Yeah.
I've been using Magic Link, right? But what if we wanted to create an event where I think y'all did it once on a challenge where they go to like a login page and it says into the password and then it goes to the dashboard.
Sure. So there's actually nothing really for you to do. It's that happens kind of by default. Okay. So this is a settings page, right, for an Obvio event. And if I were to just copy and paste this link right here, update.obv.io, that's going to take me, well, in our case, it's going to take me someplace different. But then you have an Obvio attendee default password. And then, when you go to that page, if you enter your email address and the attendee default password.
So they still have to be synced, is what you're saying. They still have to register.
Is this for a free event, Heather?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So yes, they still have to register. However, so what you may be asking about is under design, there's a sign up page option. Okay.
Okay. I could
And the
use that.
sign up page is something that allows people to get in with just a first name, last name, and email address and click sign up. And they automatically, when it's enabled, because it's not always enabled, or actually it's not enabled by default, but when it's enabled, you're able to get to a page that looks like this. Type in your first name, last name, and email address, click sign up /login, and it will automatically put you on the dashboard. So that's how you do that. And the URL is just like if you wanted to send people to that URL instead of to the base URL, and you just add sign_up to your event URL, and that's where they go.
Okay, so that could be done for it almost looks like how Zoom has it, like a registration page. It's kind of how the thought process was.
And it's just branded, right? In our case, this particular page is branded to Obvio because this dashboard is branded to Obvio, but it would be this page takes on the same look and feel as your login page. So whatever.
So it's almost like passing it, like we don't have to have them actually opt in or quote unquote register like on our landing page that's connected to Go High Level. It could go right to this and still get them in. Is that
you
right?
could. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And if they happen to be synced into Go High Level, it won't add them a second time. It'll just say, oh, blue@poweredbysage.com is already a user or an attendee. Let's let them in.
Okay, but if they're not registered, they will still let them in, right?
Then it'll create them as an attendee and it'll let them in.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. All right, thank you. Last question on that. Can you turn that on? If we have it set up with Obvio link and all that fun stuff, but can we have that on as well? The sign up page as like a backup or?
Yep.
Oh, okay. We had to pick one
100%.
of the other.
Yeah. So the two features, magic links exist for all attendees, regardless of whether or not you use them, right? The moment an attendee is imported, a magic link is created for them and it's saved inside of Obvio. Now, in your case, if you're using high level, and you have the integration turned on, then of course that magic link also goes back into high level. But if you don't have the integration turned on, and let's say you just import 100 attendees using a CSV file, it will still create magic links even if you don't use them. Then you have the other feature, which is the sign up feature. The sign up feature regardless of whether or not regardless of whether or not you send out magic links, if it's enabled, people can still use it. Doesn't matter, right? So they're not really. I understand from your perspective, they're kind of connected because it's how people get into the event, but it's not. They're not actually connected features. One is something that you can turn on and off. The other is something that always exists and is a core feature of Obvio. You're muted.
The magic link is always on in the sign up page. You can turn on and off,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Yep.
That's perfect. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Onric, is Obvio able to reliably send SMS broadcasts, or should we do this through our own system? Keep go high level,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah, great question. We unfortunately had to go through the hell that is A2P verification. So we've already done that as a platform. Yep.
Yeah, we have to keep on top of it because it changes for each country and things like that as well. But we get alerted
Yeah,
of that.
it's in the US, it even changes by carrier,
Right.
right? Because there are some carriers that just ignore A2P, and it doesn't matter at all. But yeah, we have gone through that.
And then look at this, everyone. That's what it looks like when there's nothing in there. No questions.
Well, and what does the answered questions look like?
Oh,
Can we still see? I was curious with. Oh, look at that.
look at that.
Right. And if you want to see, if I see Nina down where the 100 participants are, if you click on the 3 dots, you'll see a few options a little further down.
So it's 500.
It doesn't really matter. Any one of them.
This one.
Yeah. You can see view. You can click view full response if you can't see it all because it kind of hides it, and you'll see the entire response in the platform.
Look at that.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to say we thought of everything because I'm sure we haven't, but we thought of a lot.
Thought of some things. Uh-oh. Look what happens. Okay. Robin, will the polls button be showing tomorrow? Can you create a poll through Obvio and send it out via a broadcast or email?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like we showed earlier today, the polls feature, polls are just forms. Okay. So, yes, you can do that. You could actually do that yesterday. The polls feature has always been there. That's not new. The ability to put a form on a dashboard, either in a button or on the blog post or on the waiver step, none of those are new as of today. What's new as of today is the ability to see statistics easily inside of the form system. That's the part that's new, which all of a sudden makes forms that look a little more like polls a lot more usable, right? That's the thing that is new today. It's the statistics of being able to see people's, the aggregate numbers of 25% of people think blue is their favorite color. 50% think orange is their favorite color. The ability to see that is inside of the application is new. That's what's new.
So the polls, when you open that up where it said polls, I don't see that on mine. It doesn't have that.
So there's the only place that it said polls, we named a form that we created poll.
Oh,
That's it.
okay.
Yeah. So that's why it looked like that. So if you were to click new form and call it poll, now you would have something that said poll inside of your event.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Thank you. I was a little,
You're welcome.
yeah, I missed that part. Thanks.
No, I recognize that we I named it too cleverly.
Okay. Onric, none of my broadcasts going out. Oh. Have we had that before? Or you done it again?
No, I've been experimenting whilst you guys were talking, and really tested both old events and new events, and it's just zero going out. So I'm thinking maybe I should try and delete my.
I would suggest that you don't do anything just yet, Onric.
Okay.
As soon as we get off the call, we'll do a quick double check to see if we can send out a broadcast and see if there's something deeper going on.
Okie dokie.
Kelsey made an ops. I assume she
Yeah.
made an oops.
And oops, I'm cutting. She made two oopses. I'm cutting it close to my live event and haven't finished setting things up due to a family business emergency. Sorry about that. I have 1,800 registered through my landing page for my free challenge. Is there a checklist or something I can access to make sure I've covered off all the expected aspects needed? I'm a horse girl and not a techie, but I learn quick. Nice.
You've got me a little nervous when you just said something about, having over 1,000 people and not having a tech team. I am the tech team.
Right.
So I'm needing like a quick tech for dummies, any kind of checklist to make sure I've covered all my bases to make sure that I can pull this off.
Well, the good thing is it's a free event, yeah?
Yeah.
So
no refunds if you fuck it up.
oh, clean show.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is Jeff slash Sarah? Oh, darn it, she is.
Here's my boys that were standing here. Oh, look at that. Oh,
okay. Well, they hear me all the time. So
there's that guy with the potty mouth. This is how my boys have to start the day, listening to this filth. I'm saying goodbye to these guys. Bye-bye, Lizzie. I was just going to say the good thing for you, see you, Sammy, have a good day, is that with free events, the show up rate of people that have registered sits probably around 20-30%.
Okay.
Right. And so now, I mean, you could be in the exception and that all your people show up. But it's certainly really rare to get half the people to show up, right? And so I think you'll be fine based on that. Like you can have 1,000 people and have no problem.
If on the odd chance it would go over the 1,000, what do I have to do to make sure on my end that Zoom will allow it to put everybody together without, I don't know how the rooms or any of that work.
You can't do anything sort of settings wise to just allow it. Okay. The Zoom meeting has a maximum of 1,000 people that can be in there.
Okay.
And so people would just 1,001 would get a message that they can't enter the room, they can't enter the meeting. That's what would happen. So
okay.
So Obvio is designed, from day one, we had to have over 1,000 people. And so it's designed to be able to do it, but we do it with multiple Zoom meetings.
Okay.
And then, as we were saying before, we have a system in place to production techniques to be able to get your audio and video into both of those or all of those Zoom meetings the same way. And then Obvio handles the attendees and kind of puts them evenly across the multiple rooms that you might have.
Okay.
So, if I was you, I would be confident that you won't go over 1,000. And if you did, it's a really good problem to have, right? Because you can use it as a marketing thing. That you're just like, we had an overwhelming response to our first one, and unfortunately we hit a limit that we weren't prepared for. We didn't have enough chairs out, and so we're going to do a special follow-up one. We're going to do it again, or you know what I mean. You make it into this like, it's a great marketing thing.
It's a 30-day live event. We've done it before, just as a Facebook live broadcast. So I'm afraid as we're gathering traction and getting more and more people. So it builds up. Every day is learning off the next day with the horses and the things that we're doing. What technology
I'm sorry, have you ever on Facebook?
Yes.
Have you ever had more than 1,000 people concurrent?
Yeah.
And
through our main, so you're looking at the conversion rate, right? You're looking at when we did it, it was live on our Facebook page that has 160,000 people that are following it, you
Right.
know.
So, and what was the highest concurrent number that you had?
Probably in that like 1,700 range that that I got.
Did you mean to bring this down? No.
Who's that?
Hey, I want a sandwich too, man.
I'd like
Okay.
a sandwich. That sounds really good, actually.
Well, please,
I mean, it depends
please
on the
don't.
sandwich, I suppose.
Because please don't hear me poo-pooing your event, horse poo-pooing
Oh
your
no,
event.
no, I get it for sure.
You know what
I
I
just
mean?
have to be prepared as possible because my goal
you
for
know
the
it.
next fall is 5,000 people. So
Right.
I just want to make sure I'm getting all the equipment and buying all the things and getting set up to be ready for one Zoom.
If you're talking this sort of thing, and you're cutting it fine with the event, and you're concerned that you're going to need multiple rooms, and you don't want to have people being left out in any way, all of those things suggest to me that you should be talking to Muddy, who's on this call.
Okay.
because you don't need to do all of that yourself. You know what I mean? When you can concentrate on the content, the community building, all of that stuff, and just have someone in your corner that's handling all of that, not only all of the production aspect, but also any of the Obvio setup, dashboard stuff, all of that stuff. Muddy has all of that in spades, right? And so Muddy doesn't need me to sell his services, but I'm just saying, particularly at this time, all roads are pointing to you haven't got much time. You're not quite sure what you're missing. That you don't want to screw up something because you got a setting wrong and people can't get in.
Yeah.
And you're also concerned that you are going to need more than 1,000. All of that says to me that you just need someone who does that all the time, and to make that happen. So
Perfect.
Kelsey, can I ask you a couple quick questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where in the country are you?
Mississippi.
All right. I was just curious because, Muddy likes to drive too. So you never know. He may just show up and help you set up a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, that would be good because I ordered all of the things that you recommended from the original live that you did, and then whatever this ATEM Mini Pro thing is that I just got. There's a lot of setting up behind the scenes going on here, so that's
okay.
any guidance.
Don't throw out the box for the A10 Mini Pro, because if you're doing what you're doing, you may want to just go one level up, and if you really are gonna try and do this yourself, which And honestly, on a 30-day, it's a 30-day challenge, right?
Yes, I don't plan to do 30 days live again in this aspect. I'm gonna dive more into the Leap stuff, build a 3-day event with that 30 days on the back end being a like automated challenge. But I had already committed to this whenever I found you guys. So
totally. Something, and I'm not going to unsell Muddy's services in this moment, but the reality is any one of us who can do this, because Grant can do this, I can do this. Apparently Heather can help you. Muddy can help you. Justin can help you. There's a lot of us that can support you being able to do this without you having to worry about the tech, right? As long as you can get into one Zoom room, we can all probably help you in some level figure out how to get into the other one without you needing to buy a single thing. Okay? We can all probably do that. Here's the challenge that you're going to have. Okay, for any one of us, it's 30 days. And each of us have, we all run our business a little bit different, and our rates are all a little bit different. But for the most part, we all pretty much have a day rate, right? That we work with. We recently helped a client do essentially what you're talking about doing. My day rate to do that happens to be $10,000 a day. You don't want to hire me. Like, I 100% know you don't want to hire me, right? Now, keeping in mind, we didn't do this for 1,800, we did it for 50,000, right? So it's a much different thing. Grant does this, almost every single weekend with a group in in the United States when all of a sudden I get to talk to Grant during my daytime. I don't really know how he's conscious half the time, but anyway, right? Like we all, you know, Heather works with somebody who has an event once a week that she supports, right? Like we all have ways to do this, and each of us have a slightly different rate and a slightly different way to do it, but it all boils down to a cost per day.
Yeah.
So my biggest concern for you around that is going to be a tiny bit on the expensive side. And I could see it making more sense for you to just be like, okay, can I hire you for a day? I'll buy the stuff and you help me set it up and show me the easiest hands-off way to do it. Where I walk in, I look to one computer, I launch Zoom, I look to the other computer, I launch Zoom, and I now look at my camera and I'm good to go. And, you know, again, some of us can do that remotely. Not me. I'm really actually not great with that stuff. I know Muddy can do it remotely. You know, I know Justin can do it remotely. I was actually thinking, you know, if you're close enough, like I said, you know, Muddy drives to people's houses and helps them set up home studios. So that may be something where it may make more sense to do something like that than to hire any one of us to do this shit for 30 days. Oh, sorry, to do this for 30 days. I'm sorry. Don't give me a hard time. Just mute yourself again. Leave me alone.
They've gone to school now, so all right.
Okay, good. So yeah, that just as I'm thinking, like as we're talking through this, to run 2 meetings isn't all that tough if you try and keep it simple. So and we can all
that sounds a lot more up my alley too, especially with like those lives. We don't typically cut off the Q&A. We're trying to give as much value as we can. We started this during COVID, and it was just kind of, we got so many people inspired full circle. And so having to contract somebody to stay on for that extent of time in the evening is just not realistic. So, but I feel super comfortable learning from somebody and being able to implement as much as I can on my end. So that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I would also,
and I do like that Muddy has helped people build studios that work lots of times. So that's awesome. Like more than just once, apparently. Go Muddy.
Lots of times. I would say, and not that I'm continuing to back myself that your numbers will be less than 1,000, because I hope for more for you. But what I have seen is that, particularly when converting from Facebook or pivoting from Facebook to Zoom, is that the overall numbers are much lower, but the engagement is way higher. And so the stickability. So what we see with Facebook is that the average view time is really low, because they're on Facebook, right? And so they drop in, and they're like some people are on there the whole time. No question. They've specifically come there. They're going to watch the whole show. But the majority of those people have dropped in because they didn't realize it was on at that time. A notification comes on. They watch it for a few minutes, you know, or whatever, and then they're on to their next thing. Whereas the people that intentionally come into the Zoom meeting and they've got their camera on, they're way more engaged. You have a better community feel, but that number would be significantly lower than what you see. But I hope it's highly successful and you have thousands of people there, you know. So,
and Kelsey, I'm going to give you one more thing just to think about, because as we talk, my mind is just kind of moving around how to make this easy for you. We had a client who used the platform, and what they chose to do, because they wanted to keep tech as simple as possible and not buy anything, is they hosted the first 1,000 people in Zoom, and then from Zoom did a live stream out to YouTube, and then put a YouTube embed code of the live stream on the dashboard. So when and in their email copy, they said first 1,000 people can join us in Zoom. Everybody else can join us on the dashboard with the live stream. So that's a potential solution. So like, I just want to say, don't freak out. There's a whole lot of ways that we can make this all work, and you'll be fully covered.
Perfect.
the best experience for your attendees is for them all to be in Zoom. And if you can figure out how to make that work, great. And if you can't, there's an alternative that's not hard and it's free, right?
Okay.
Like to stream from Zoom to YouTube and then take that YouTube video and embed it on the dashboard, no extra cost.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you
Right.
guys very much.
Yeah, you got this. It's going to be awesome.
You're welcome. Yeah. Let me just say something about Blue for a moment, and I'm very serious, and that is that when I was answering that question, there's a very key thing that you talked about that Blue heard, and that was about the 30 days. It's something that I really appreciate about Blue is that attention to detail. That was a small detail that I missed, or I didn't think about it, and Blue caught it and was like, okay. And this is the other way to do this. And the other thing that I can never guess is Blue's responses on things, and that is we're talking about. I thought about live streaming, and I was like, I don't think Blue would go down the live streaming line. And I can never guess because I feel like I would say, yeah, there's a great feature in Zoom, the live streaming thing. You can even set it that it will auto go to the live stream if they can't get into Zoom, right? Like if it hits the 1,000, it'll go straight to the YouTube channel. Like Zoom will do that. But I didn't think that Blue would suggest that one. So there you go. It's a dynamic thing.
Listen, I was just thinking through. Kelsey already has 1,800 people signed up.
Right.
This isn't a. Sometimes we get into hypothetical conversations, right? Like, well, what happens if I have a conversation with somebody for an event coming up, and it was like, well, what happens if I get to 40,000 people registered? And I was like, well, how many people are you at right now? 45. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. When you get to 1,000, we'll start having a real conversation. But in your case, it's a real conversation, right? You already have 1,800 people signed up. You've already done things in the past where you've had, just shy of 2,000 people show up concurrently. I think that's a real conversation where we can really think about real solutions rather than just, I may have 1 million people at my event. Cool. How many are on your list? 5. Okay. You may have 1 million people at your event, but chances aren't great.
Do you know it's amazing too. I do an event regularly. They have an email list of 70,000. They get about 10,000 people sign up, register for the event, and about 800 show up. Like, it's amazing. Like, how can you have 10,000 people all say, yep, I'm coming, I know the date, I know all this, and only 10% of them show up? It's incredible. Anyway, I hope it's very different, and I'm sure.
Well, and we see there's always the outliers, right, Grant? Like we have a client that, when they do a free webinar, they get like 60% show up.
Right.
And it never makes any sense to me because none of our other clients can replicate it. Nobody. But, it really is.
Yeah, the more niche it is sometimes, the more.
Yeah, exactly. So it varies. But yeah, yep.
Anyway.
All right. So I think we covered the ops.
All the best, Kelsey. You've got this.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We covered the ops and the oops. We got this.
Last one on Rick. Can we do a quick over?
Oh, he's not here anymore. We'll send him an email for the thing.
He said for next time anyway. So.
But that's funny, David.
2 hours.
We see a US election. Talk about a lousy show up rate. Yeah.
All right.
Feels like more than normal will show up for this one. Anyway, maybe not. Who knows?
Just peppering in a bit of politics at the end there, Blue.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. I just said I feels like more people are going to show up. It feels like it doesn't matter what side you're on. Feels like people are a little more fired up this time than they have been in the past.
I mean, if I lived there, I'd show up.
If I
not
lived
sure.
here, I'd show. Actually, I would show up. I just can't because I'm from.
You still-
I'm not a
I thought
not a
I thought
citizen.
you were a citizen. Okay.
Nope. Green card holder. Permanent. Legal permanent resident, I believe
Fair
is
enough.
the term they actually use.
I think they
But,
call you an alien.
Does that mean an alien? That's right, a legal
You're
alien.
an alien. Nobody calls me an alien.
You are.
Alien
All right.
blue alien.
Yeah. Nobody understands it. It's from a different country. Canada. Aliens up there live in igloos and shit. Crazy. Oh, third time. I'm sorry.
Wow. Three times. All right. Thank you, everyone. Let's do this all again next week. Don't expect don't expect as many new features next week as we had this week. But enjoy playing around with it all.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
We'll see you next week.
Have a good one, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.